What's up, weirdlings? It's me, Mark, and this is another Dungeons & Dragons tip. Since we started the Dominion of Eslan with Heroes of Awesome, I've had a lot of questions about how I make some of the things that I use for the campaign. Eslan has a ton of NPCs and bad guys running around, and there's no way I can afford all of those minis. So I decided to use Papercraft, and this is a tutorial showing you how I make all those Papercraft minis. Couple of things to note. I'm using Photoshop. If you're not using Photoshop, that's fine. What I'm doing, you can do in pretty much any software out there. The concept is what's important. The other thing is there are a number of different ways you can do this within Photoshop or whatever program you're using. If you have any tips or tricks, make sure to leave them down in the comments, let everybody know. At the end of the basic tutorial, I'll give you a few additional tips and tricks, ways to speed the process up a little bit, and some ways to add a little differentiation to your characters. It's a good word, differentiation. Anyways, let's get started. First things first, let's go ahead and let's open up a brand new document. We are going to have it 8.5 by 11. I like to keep the resolution at 300 pixels per inch just because I like a high quality print. If your resolution is at 72 or something, you may not get a good high quality print. So I like to keep it at 300, but it does make for a larger file size. You can see right now it's at 24 megs. Change it as you need to, whatever makes you happy. Okay, we've got a blank page. This is a really simple process, but it is a little time consuming, so let's just jump in here right now. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to define the area where the characters are going to be in. Now these characters are medium-sized characters, so they take up a 1 square inch spot on a board. So their base should be 1 square inch. Our paper is 8.5 inches wide with a 1/2 inch margin that's not printable. So we're really looking at about 7.5 inches to use. Of that, we're gonna have about a 1/2 inch that's not being used. It's just not big enough. Maybe you want to make some smaller characters. You can if you want, but we're gonna focus on medium right now. You don't have to throw some guides out, but I'm gonna throw some guides out just to make it a little easier for me to do everything. I'm gonna put one at the 1/2 inch mark so I know where my side is. There's my first margin. I'm gonna throw over here at the 8 inch mark so I know where that margin is as well. There's 8 inch. Same thing from the top. I've got a 1/2 inch margin at the top as well, so I'm going to throw us a 1/2 inch somewhere there. And down here at the bottom, we're going to throw another 1/2 inch about there. Boom. Okay, doesn't have to be perfect, but those are our margins. Now keep in mind, I also said that we're going to have about a 1/2 inch on the side that we're not going to use. So I'm going to put me another mark right here. That's going to be at my 7.5 inch point. Now I'm going to define the area for my characters, and I'm going to use the rectangle tool to do that just because it's easier. It's also nice since I have these guides here, it will help lock into place. I'm going to put this right on the corner of that guide and drag it down to this point here. And let me just make sure this guy's in place. Yep, he's locked on there. All right, so now I have a square that is going to define where my characters are going to go. I did use red on here because I'm going to label the different lines as to whether they're cut lines or whether they're score lines. Score lines are where you're going to fold things. Just so we can keep track of that, I'm going to type in here, cut, and we'll use that actually with the same color, red. Shoop. Get up there, bright red, cut. There we go. All right, so red is gonna be cut. If you wanna actually see what it looks like, you can turn off your guides. Just go over here to show guides, unclick that, and you can see that is my basic rectangle where my characters are gonna be. Each one of these characters is got an inch square base, so I need to start moving over an inch and I need to draw lines down every inch. In this case, I'm going to use the line tool. The line tool doesn't quite have the same dimensions as the rectangle tool, so you need to make sure that you've got everything set up. In this case, I'm going to use a red fill and I'm going to turn off the stroke, and I have a weight at 4. Play around with these numbers. It's whatever is going to work for you, but these seem to look about the same to me. What I'm going to do then is I'm going to use my line tool, and at every inch, I'm going to put another line down. You can see right here. Here, actually, let me zoom in a little bit so I get a little better fidelity with what I'm doing. If you need to move your guides, make sure you click the move tool up here, and that'll let you come over and select your guide and move it. So where I actually want to be, I want to be the very best. No one ever was. I've got my 1.5 inches, and I'm going to be doing that for everyone. I'm going to go ahead and throw guides down because it's going to be easier for me. 2.5. I like guides. Some people don't like to use guides. I like guides. They do get cluttered a lot, so I'll turn them off a lot as well so that I can see what I'm actually doing. But for me, it's just a little more accurate way to get the lines exactly where I want them. And boom. So now I have a guide for where all of my vertical cuts should go. I'm gonna go over here and use my line tool again. I've got the fill set up here. I've got my weight at 4, and then I can just come up, follow my guides down, and I will make my line. Now notice this. If you want a straight line, hold down the shift. Hold it. Oh, hey, jumping. Hold down shift when you get there. Notice that once you get to that other line at the edge of that rectangle, it's gonna go pink. Click on that, and now I've got a line. Zoom out a little bit so you can see that better next time. So here we go. We're gonna do the same thing again. Boom. And notice how it does snap in there. Gonna lock that in. So I'm gonna do that for all of these guides. Oop. If you wanted to, you could go ahead and copy and paste these, but I'm just gonna draw them just because reasons. It really doesn't matter. Again, like I said, there's so many ways you can do this. You can do whatever makes you happy. This just makes me happy today, so this is what I want to do. Boop, boop, boop. And there we go. So if I come over here to the window and I turn off my guides, you can see that I have the lines for the cut that are vertical at this point. The other cut line that you're going to need to make is going to be the 5.5 inch mark. So I'm going to bring a guide down there again to 5.5 inches. I'm going to bring my line tool over, and I am just going to drag that over. Again, holding down shift to make sure that it's a straight line. If you don't, it might get a little wonky. It maybe won't be quite as straight, and that's going to it'll bother me. It might not bother you. I don't know. I am not going to judge you right here. So, showing the guides, nope. Look at that. We have all of our cut lines set. We're halfway there. Well, we're not halfway there, but we're a decent ways there. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the score lines. The score lines are where you're actually going to end up folding the characters. This is where you're going to cut. The score lines are going to be where you want to fold. I'm calling them score lines because really and truly, before you try to fold them, I would highly suggest that you score them. That means just making a little indentation before you try to fold. If you don't, they're not really going to fold as easily, especially if you're using cardstock, which I highly recommend. Cardstock is going to be really more sturdy and will keep that fold better. So I'm going to use my line tool again, but this time we're going to use a different fill. Since these could show up a little more on your character, I'm just going to use a gray. You can use whatever you want. Again, it's whatever makes you happy. Just to make things easier, I am going to put guides down. I'm going to put this guy at 1.5-ish. Let's get a little closer so I can get that good resolution. The farther off you are, the harder it is to get accurate in measurements in there. So now when I put my guide down there at the 1.5 inch mark, you can see that I now have a 1 by 1 inch base. That's going to be 1/2 of the base for this character. These minis are also going to be about 1.5 inches tall. That means my next guide is going to go down here at the 3 inch mark. There's my 3 inch, put that down there. 1.5 inches from that, that's going to put us at 4.5 inches. Boop. And you can also see now I've got another inch square down here. So this entire section right here is going to be one mini. It's got an inch square on each side. I'm going to go ahead and do that for the rest of them as well. Need a 6.5 there because we've got another inch on this other side. That's going to put us at 8 here. I can get into the 8 position. There we go. Then we are going to go at 9.5. 9.5, there we go. And we, again, have the 1 inch square. So now we just have to draw our lines again with our line tool. We've got our line tool. We're going to use this guy. Boop. Draw it over. Use your shift key to make sure the lines are straight. Drawing all of my scores over. Boop, 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 boop. So many lines. A lot of lines. It looks confusing, but bear with me. It's not that bad. It's a horrible song. Why would I even sing that song? It's not even a song. Song like has lyrics and, well, that had lyrics, but they weren't good. Whatever. Okay. So when we turn off and we get rid of our guides again, you can now see where all of your cuts are as well as your folds. All the red lines are cuts, all the gray lines are scores. Let's go ahead and show that here so we can all remember. Scores. We're going to use that gray. It's not the same value gray. Close enough. Boom. So red is cut, gray is score. We're halfway there, guys. Piece of cake, right? Right. Okay, I'm not sure how I did it, but for some reason I made my middle line gray instead of red, so whatever, dude. Whatever. We're gonna make that a cut line. That needs to be a cut line. That is not a score line, that is a cut line. Boom. There. There. Happy? Now I'm happy. Alright, sorry about that. Red lines are cut, gray lines are scores. Huzzah! Hurrah! We're doing great. Gotta love it. So now you need to put in the images. These can be whatever images you want. I'm just gonna pull some great images that I found online and we're gonna use those as examples. Before we do that though, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to save as a template. Minis. Boom, now we're saved. Huzzah. So I'm gonna import an image over here. We're gonna just go ahead and embed it in here. And I'm gonna use this one right here because this crossbow bandit's kind of awesome. I kind of love her. She's amazing. We're gonna scale it down. And what I'm looking for is I want it to fit in these small sections. And it's gonna be each one of these here. And I'm actually going to put it just like that. So you can see I have Photoshop set up so that it will snap to guides and it will snap to all the things around it. So it does fit right within that 1.5 inch tall section right there. You basically just keep doing that all the way across. You can just keep placing embedded. I'm gonna put in this little crossbow bandit right here. Hello there, crossbow bandit. Boop, 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 boop. Boop, boop. There you go. Okay, one thing that I like to do is I like to put a mirror image of this person on the other side of the mini so it'll have a front and a back. It's not a huge deal, but I like to do it. It just adds a little bit more to the mini in general. I'm going to do that using actions, which are basically recordings of whatever you're doing that you can then replay over and over and over again. It'll save you time in the long run. So take a look at it, see what you think. If you use it, whatever. The first thing I want to do is I want to make sure that I have one of these images selected. In this case, I've got this one selected. Great. I need to make sure that that is selected in the layers panel. I'm going to go over to the window and you'll see there's an actions window. When you select that, you can see I already have a bunch of actions available. And I'm going to go over here, click, new action. Typing's hard. Typing's really hard. Medium flip. Also going to give it a color just so it'll stand out a little bit. Boop. There we go. From this point forward, anything I do in Photoshop is going to be recorded as a part of this action. So make sure you've got what you want to do in mind before you get started, because it's going to record it all, and if there's extra stuff, you're just going to have to get rid of it. At this point, I'm going to go over here to the selected layer, and I'm going to duplicate that layer and make another one. Don't really care about the name right now. You can change that later if you want. I then want to go over to Edit, and I am going to transform flip vertical. You can see that it flips that over here. One thing to keep in mind, there's also an image that you can have an image rotation. That's the entire image. You want just that layer. To get that, go to the edit menu. Now, with the move tool selected right here, I'm going to move this guy up so that he snaps in place right there. Boom. That should be about right. Yeah, it's a little lower. Let's move him up. There we go. That looks about right. The next thing I want to do is just for grins, I'm going to change the opacity. I'm going to put that down to, I don't know, 50%. Let's put it at 50%. That slider is right over here for that layer. So you can see it's not quite as shown. We'll keep it about 50%. So now my front is darker, my back is lighter. That's all I really need to do. I'm going to click stop. Now I have that recorded. If I go to this layer, which is Crossbow Bandit 2, this one right there. Hello. If I go here, and I say play on this action, it'll automatically do it all for me. Boom. So simple, so easy. Gotta love it. One thing to keep in mind when you're doing this is that your original layer has to be the same size. If you put something in there that doesn't take up that entire size, it's not gonna work. Let's show an example of that. If here's this little mastiff. We'll put a little mastiff in here. Shoop, 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 shoop. And there you go. So at scale, that's where that mastiff would be. If I do the same thing here, you can see it throws him at the top instead of the bottom. So we need to make sure that if you do that, you take a minute to just adjust your spacing a little bit. But it's still gonna do the flip, it's still gonna do the transparency, it'll have it all there. Here's another little tip that you may or may not like. I like it because it adds a little variety to the minis very simply. I'm just going to duplicate this layer as well, and we're going to put this little bandit on another figure. Right about there. Yeah, sure, let's go right about there. Let's zoom in a little bit. There's this great function within Photoshop, if you go to Image Adjustments, oh, hold on, forgot about this. You need to make sure that you rasterize this. If you have imported it in, you need to rasterize that layer first. Right here, boom. That basically just means that those pixels aren't linked to another file anymore. Don't have to worry too much about the details, but make sure that it's rasterized before you do this. Now, go over here to Image Adjustments, and we're going to replace color. Basically, I select a color. In this case, I'll select this one. And then I can adjust the hue of that. And you can see it immediately changes the color. So instead of red, maybe she's got a green cape or something like that. You do notice there are a few little spots that aren't there. That's what this little plus eyedropper is for. Click on those spots and it will fill those in as well. Now let's get in a little closer and see a couple of things that are problems. First off, there's another little red we can clear up right there. There we go. And I want to scroll you up a little bit. All right, you notice what's going on with her hair. That is not exactly what we're wanting. Even when I clean that up, it's still turning her hair this strange green color. So I don't want that. In order to eliminate that, all you really have to do is just make some selections. I'm going to go through and I'm just going to do a quick, rough, dirty selection on this guy. Girl, person, female, human. This is the area that I really want to focus on. I do also want her hair, so if I keep the selection lasso selected and hold the shift down, it will add a plus. And again, this is super rough. Doesn't have to be precise, but I'm just doing this. Oh, totally missed where I wanted. How about right there? Sure, why not? Sure. Yeah, I think that's about right. Looking at that, it looks pretty close. Pretty close. Let's add a little bit more in there. It looks like there's a little bit peeking it through over here. Maybe a little bit up top. Yeah, something like that. Let's try that. Okay, we'll do the same thing. Go over to the image adjustments. We're going to replace color. You can see now it's just focusing on the selection, and whenever I click that red and start adjusting things, it's a little too much. I think we got a little too much red in there, so let's go with this one instead. Yeah, that's going to be a little better. Now we can see how it's working. And let's add in this red as well. And let's just give her a nice green cape. If I scroll up, you can see that it's not touching her hair like it was that last time. Let's get rid of this little guy. Get out of here. There we go. And when you deselect, after you say okay, then when you deselect, now you have same character with a green cape. So you can tell the difference between your minis with that. It's a simple little thing that you can do. Takes a little fiddling, and some images work better than others depending on how they are. This one had a really defined color that you could really pick out. If they're all the same color, this crossbow person won't work as well. You can still do it, but it won't work as well unless you wanted something all the same color. I don't know. You will just populate each one of these all the way down. This second line, just so you know, will look just like this top one. You'll do the exact same thing. We're going to place embedded, and we are going to put her down here. And the reason I'm putting her down here is so I can still use the same action. If I had her up here and was trying to flip it the other direction, then my saved action wouldn't work. You can see here I can flip that and it's right there. If I did the same thing here, it just wouldn't work. It would be upside down. Go there. It's just wrong. It's so wrong. It's just, why would you? Just don't. Remember to cut on the red, fold on the gray. The gray might not show as well depending on where you're putting your pieces. You can kind of see down here the Mastiff is covering up some of those lines and everything. Just do your best. Again, I would highly recommend scoring these, especially if you're using cardstock before you try to fold. They will not fold where you want them to. Guarantee it. I guarantee it. So just take the time to score it. If you have one of those fancy paper cutter things from Michaels, there's usually a dial that will either cut or score. Cut first, score. Or actually no, score first, cut. Makes life easy. Here's something else. I'm going to put all of my lines and rectangles all in a group. We're going to call these medium minis. If I turn that off, you can't see anything. All the lines are gone. If you want to make minis for larger critters like this, pretty much what you're doing is you're doubling the size of everything. So if you have these at 1 inch, your base is going to have to be 2 inches. So you will go through and you will do the exact same process, except with 2 inches. Oop. Let's get rid of all these guys. You'll go through the exact same process, except with 2.5 inches, or I'm sorry. Yeah, that's right, 2.5 inches. Boop, 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 boop. Can't get in close. Hold on a second. Oh yeah, let's say that you want to make any larger figures. You can do the exact same process, except you're going to double the size of all of your minis over here. So the base on the large ones, instead of a 1 by 1 inch base, it's going to be a 2 by 2 inch base, and the height of each mini is going to be doubled as well. So you'll have a 2 by 2 base with a 3 inch tall mini. You can see there's no way to fit as many on these page as before, obviously, because it takes up so much space. The lines for these are going to work exactly the same. You're just going to have to move your guides over. So you'll have one at 2.5, so we don't need that one. And you will have one at 4.5, and you will have one at 6.5. You do have space over here. You can see in this setup, I made a couple of nulls in that extra space because there's enough room for it. You have an extra space. If you don't want to, you don't have to. The other thing you need to do is you need to move your other guides down. So instead of 1.5 right here, this guy is going to be at 2.5. And again, let's zoom in so we can get a little better fidelity on our guides. 2.5. Hey! They are going to be 3 inches down, so you're going to have another one at 5.5. Hey, look at that. There's already one at 5.5. It's crazy how that works. That's just nutty how that works. Isn't that crazy? So at 5.5, the next one is going to be at 8.5. It's going to bring us right down to here. Almost. Oop, there we go, 8.5. And then again, you will have 2 inches for your base. So those are your guides. Let me actually hide these so that you can see where they are. And let's hide all this stuff as well. Oop. So now you can see where your guides are. And it's the same process we had before, where you're just going in and making your figures. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's do that. Why not? Start with the rectangle tool. We are going to have the stroke be red and no fill. Sounds great. Phil's a jerk. No, he's not. Phil's a great guy. There, we've got that. We've got other lines coming in. Where are my lines? Oop. We're going to flip it around here. I want the fill to be red. I want the stroke to be non-existent. Whoops. What am I doing? Why would I do that? That's stupid. I shouldn't do that. Alright. So, fill is red. Stroke, go away. And now we're going to draw our lines here. Straight. Remember, hold down the shift for straight. Boop. And boop. Our cut lines are right there. There are no other cut lines. The rest of them are going to be scores, so we're just going to make those gray. I don't remember what my gray value was. We'll just make it that. I will make my score lines here. I can get my little cursor in place. There we go. Shoot. Alright, so when I get rid of my guides, so now you see I've got my cut lines in red, my scores across. The same process that we did before, you can just put in, this is a huge, this is You know what? I actually have an ogre picture somewhere. Hold on a second. Let me find an ogre. Ogre! Alright. Same thing we're going to do here. We are just going to fill in the space with the ogre. If you hold shift down, it will constrain proportions. In this case, I just want to go ahead and release it so I can fill up that spot. You don't have to. It's just the way I'm doing it. And from here, it's just a matter of going through and flipping again. Keep in mind, too, if you flip here, it's not going to work because it's a different size. So you're going to have to do a different action in order to make that work. Once you get these in place, I would go ahead and save them as a separate group. We can call these large minis. So then if you want to make any large minis, you can just look at that one. If you want to make your medium minis, you can look at that one. You don't need to look at this ogre anymore. Get out of here. So just whatever you're doing, you'll then have both of them in place. Make sure that you turn off one before you look at another. That's what eyeball's for. So some people have also asked how these fit together. And basically the way it works is you're weaving these two bases together. You're going to have one cut that goes in the middle of this section down. Not all the way through, but probably about 2/3 of the way through. And on the opposite side, you're going to have two cuts. One coming this direction. Not all the way through again about 2/3 of the way through. The other coming this direction, about 2/3 of the way through. One thing to keep in mind, I want to zoom in here a little bit. This section right here is really important. If it is too narrow, in other words, if you move that so that it's like this, the mini will not stay together. You've got to have room at the base of the mini for those flaps to weave together. So give yourself even a little extra room on that one. I say like 2/3 of the way through. It should probably be even more like this, so it's a little staggered. I could put the lines in there, or I could just say, hey, cut them and play with it. I'm gonna say cut them and play with it. It's pretty easy to do. Basically, just remember, one side you're going to make a cut through the middle there. The other side you're gonna make two cuts, weave them through, and they'll stay together. If you're using cardstock, they may want to fly apart if you're not scored and folded really, really well. If you are having trouble with that happening, press them between some books. Just fold them up, get some heavy, big, huge, like monster manual player things and squish them. Once you do that long enough, eventually they're going to work. Just straight up paper, not going to be a problem at all, but they're not going to be as sturdy. So that's how you make cool, fun, and exciting little papercraft minis. If you're one of our patrons on Patreon, I'm actually going to throw up a PDF of the template so that you can download that PDF and then use them for whatever you need at that point. Anybody else can watch this and do their own thing. One more tip. When you save this, I have found that saving it as a PDF is a much better way to do it. When you save it as a PDF, everything prints out a lot better. But when you print, make sure you say print to actual size. A lot of times PDFs are going to want to shrink them down to the paper. Print the actual size or else your dimensions are going to be off and it's not going to be an exact 1 inch by 1 inch base. So that's pretty much it. Hope you liked the video. If you got any questions, let me know down in the comments. If you have any suggestions or anything else that we can do better, let me know down in the comments. Make sure you watch Heroes of Awesome. We're on here all the time. We have our live stream with the Dominion of Estland every other weekend, Sundays at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. Don't forget all the other shows in here. Follow us on Twitters, Facebooks, social medias, then the things. Facebook, then social media.